So the dean invited me to speak at the Shutdown STEM panel, which Theo is also part of. And through that experience back in June, I had heard of Nsbe chapters at other schools, and I was thinking about how great it would be to have one at Queen's to foster a community of Black engineers and people who understand each other's experiences, the intersectionality of being a Black student and in such a demanding program as engineering at Queen's. And it had just never been started at Queen's because the group is so small, the representation is so low at Queen's that it had just never started. So I thought there was a group of students who were also interested in starting in starting this group, and so we got it started in August with the mentorship program and have been running events since September.
That's great. Yeah.
And the ultimate goal is to increase diversity in the incoming classes at Queen's, and also foster this community where students can know the other Black engineers in their year and in the faculty.
The fact that, because like before like Jen reached out, or really it was like Thea who reached out to me and told me about Genevieve wanting to start the Nsbe chapter, and I had never even really heard about Nsbe before, or like wasn't even in that realm that like Black engineers had some sort of organization where we could come and congregate and create a community for ourselves in engineering, which is already such a predominantly white space. So yeah, it really came about because the already small network of Black students at Queen's we already have kind of came together over the summer because of really like all the traumatic experiences and the death of George Floyd and many other Black people we saw happening. And because we were kind of like roped into having these conversations now with the school. So yeah, that's kind of how I got onto the project, but yeah.
Yeah, I guess the main reason that Nsbe came to be is because there was such a lack of network within the Queen's community. So the fact that Jen and I spoke on the panel back in June wasn't because we were the most qualified to do it. It was because we were the only ones that the faculty knew. And now with our network of, I think, over 20 Black engineers, we can find the most qualified person for the job. So the story behind it is really that this came out of necessity, and it was definitely something that we don't think that we should have had to do, but it was something that we ended up having to do in the end.
So we run one event per month in addition to our collaborations with other universities, and we also promote all these events and additional opportunities on our social media, which Nick runs, and it's at nsbe.queens. We also have a Facebook, but people don't use that so much, so
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely helps Queen's engineers. It's a focus on creating, I mean, it's about really like visibility. Like one, we've created a space where Black engineers within Queen's Eng see that there are other students like them, and they have a space where they can reach out and access that support from people who look like them, which is something I know I missed a lot when I started here in 2016, not really knowing, like coming back to Toronto and like talking to people and being like, I have no Black friends, and that's just kind of like the norm, and I kind of have to accept that. But it also does the job of, it also like provides a space for people outside of Queen's End looking at Queen's End to see that there is a safe space for them, and that Queen's engineering is a space, a possibility for them. Because before, when we didn't have this network and we weren't so visible, I'm sure Black students looking at Queen's End were like, this isn't a place where I could safely study because I don't see anyone who looks like me, and I probably won't see any profs who look like me. So who could I come to for support?
Yeah, exactly. I know that for myself, coming to tour Queen's, I was I just didn't see anyone who looked like me on campus. Anyone in the group that I was touring with, or the leader who was giving us a tour, I was there after the school year, so I didn't really see any many students, but that was the main thing that was holding me back from choosing Queens over McMaster. I was like debating between the two. And I remember thinking, oh, I really don't know if those traditions are going to be for me. I really don't know if I'm going to feel like I have a sense of community at Queens. And of course, now I'm so glad that I chose this school because I've been able to feel like this is like the Queens engineering community is a home, and I feel really fortunate to have enjoyed those traditions. Like I was a FREC, and I think there's a really strong sense of community at Queens, but I know that so many aren't that lucky. They don't find that the group of people that I've found, and I wanted this club to foster that and show people that, as Nick said, there are other people that look like them at Queens. And then also, I knew of 5 Black or mixed engineers in my year. That's less than 0.5% of our class. And I've been told by Jaden, who is also on the exec, for example, that I was the only other Black engineer that he knew in first year. And that's in a class of 750 students in 2019. Like, that's just makes no sense. And I was kind of going off of why I started the club was also because I was part of the Queens Black Pre-Medical Association in first year, which I thought was like literally the first meeting. Being in a room full of people who looked like me was the first time at Queens. I was like, oh my goodness, like it's just literally all of the Black people at Queens in this room. And I forgot just how nice it was to feel like I could relate on levels that I couldn't with the people in my program, with the people in this club. And that group was really great. Because I'm interested in medicine, I could relate to people on that level, but no one else in that group was actually in engineering. And so I definitely saw there was a gap there, and not everyone would be interested in joining a pre-medical association just to find people who look like them. Also, increasing the diversity of the incoming student cohort is really important, especially in engineering. We can't be making decisions for society with for a diverse society with the group that lacks diversity itself. Nick, do you want to take this one?
No, you can take it. No, I'm joking. One misconception I think is because it has Black in the name that it's only for Black people. Obviously, National Society of Black Engineers is a group that is created for Black people, run by Black people, because we wanted to do that and because we needed to do that. But obviously the initiatives we run are going to be Black centered, but our first event, it was open to everyone. And like, unless it's specified that it's a Black only space because we think that that's key to the event, all our initiatives are obviously open to all engineers. Like the PD event, like it's a professional development event, Black centered, but you know, it's still an opportunity to network. So that's still a space where people can take part in.
I can take this one. I'll go for it, guys. Commit. So basically, we want all Black engineers to find and like feel a sense of community at Queens. And since we're such a small group, we think that it's not necessarily only our job to create that sense of community. It's something that all students can help us with. So we don't really want to give specific action items. We don't really feel it's our place and our job to give other people the tools that they need to help us. I think that it's a community effort and it's everyone needs to make a difference. So we definitely just want everyone to feel included here. And I think that taking a look at your actions and seeing how they affect others is a really key way to do that. And then just being mindful that not everyone's experience is the same and not everyone's perspective is the same is a great way to like help us achieve our goal.
I think Thea did it.
Yeah, I also think like the Queen's Black Academic Society is a really good resource for action tools, and that's kind of where leaving this. I think that they're doing a really good job of that side of things, and we're more so geared towards engineering students and fostering that sense of community. So
That's
maybe I would add just like, if you want to help give to Black organizations, speak up if you see something that is anti-Black. Like, it's about like having these conversations and being able to have uncomfortable conversations, and that's something that we've missed at Queens. It's like this level of normalcy that we don't talk about race, especially in engineering, even though it's such a white space and, you know, marginalized students are so oppressed here. But we've been okay with like not discussing that. So I think if you want to help our organization as a student, it's just like start being more vocal about these things on campus.
What the faculty can do and what students can do is just continuing the conversation. I think that was something that was brought up over the summer when everything was at the front of people's news feeds. They couldn't look away, but just because it's no longer on everyone's stories doesn't mean that the conversation has ended. It might be a blip in the news for most people, but for Black people, Black students, Black engineers, it is the rest of our lives. It is our entire lives. It's every day. So just continuing the conversation and not being afraid to ask questions and learn and keep the momentum going.
Yeah.
And the faculty just continuing to listen to our concerns and continuing to make change and go in the right direction.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so thank you for doing this interview with me. I really, really appreciate it.